Oops. Good morning. I would like, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance. I'm going to speak in English. We have a few people from several countries. We are back to back with the European Outsourcing Awards Association that have been here yesterday, and we invite most of those people to come here. So I apologize. I'll do the introduction in English, and then we'll continue with the presentation. First of all, thank you very much for your presence. Thank you to the Mayor of Lisbon for your presence, to Miguel representing the ICEP Portugal Global. I know that there is a tricky agenda, and we are going to switch a little bit the protocol. The Mayor of Lisbon, Fernando Medina, was going to be the last one to talk, but we agreed between ourselves to change the protocol, and will come after me. And essentially, the idea of today is to share where we are in terms of Portugal as a destination for outsourcing, ICT in general, but we wanted also to expand a little bit more than just the typical discussions about nearshore. We want also to show which innovation is being made today in Portugal, and especially here in Lisbon, in the hub that exists in Lisbon, which is very important. And so, on top of the presentation of an update of a study about the nearshore locations and the comparables between that done by the Nova University, together with our friend from Ilan Hoshrid from, I have to say that it's not an easy name to say, Longburoth University, which we are cooperating together for some months already to create a benchmark of indicators of different locations of nearshore. But probably more interesting after that is some of the business cases that we want to present. Very different, all based on technology, but showing cases where Portugal has become a center of the operations of several companies. And so we'll have here Nokia, Teleperformance, and Vodafone showing how they participate on the operation of these global companies, exactly trying to show what was the advantage of Portugal for doing that. Finally, we'll have a debate, and we wanted in this debate to be very open and trying to make sure that we show not only the normal big companies, but also the initiatives that happens in Lisbon around the startups. And so we have João Vasconcelos from the Startup Lisbon were talking with us. Also talking about a global company that is one of the major sponsors of this event, which is Altitude, showing how a company, a software company, can grow not only in Portugal but elsewhere. And finally, Pedro Santa Clara from Nova, which is also an example of expansion, international expansion. And Rui Costa. Rui is a leading scientist in Fundação Champalimaud, and he is a very interesting person and speech around the innovation and the cooperation that exists between several research companies and associations in order to facilitate the cure of cancer in the future, and mainly the development of the life sciences, also based here in Portugal. So I think it's not only the normal ICT, we try to create a program that goes beyond that and shows the innovation and the capabilities that we are putting together in a country, very small country called Portugal, but big in ambitions. And I think with that, I would like to pass to the Mayor of Lisbon, Fernando Medina. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you very much. I was just informed that I should be speaking English, so it's just a demonstration that here in Portugal we are able of quick adapt to change and innovation at this time of the morning, even the mayor. So good morning to you all. Just a brief words. Talk about Lisbon that is living an incredible and exciting momentum. Lisbon is now at the center of one of the most vibrant, dynamic, and amazing decades that we have for several times. What's happening here now in Lisbon, it's quite amazing, because in the middle of a crisis in Portugal, a big, very difficult, huge crisis at all macroeconomical level, what's happening in Lisbon, it's an incredible reality. What's happening here, it's the growing, the fast growing of the modern part of the country that exists, spread all over the country, but exists here with a more critical dimension on the number of people that comes out from universities, number of PhDs, the quality of research and innovation centers, the quality of innovation in big companies, the innovation on service companies, and an important part of the modern part of Portugal, it is here in Lisbon. It has been here for a while, but I think what's happening now, it's booming, and it's matching with each other. It's creating a new explosion of realities and events that it's triggering a big momentum, incredible momentum in the city. We can see that in two most clear dimensions. One of that is obviously tourism. Tourism is changing completely the city. Tourism, we are now, Lisbon is in the middle of the fastest growing tourist segment in the world, city breaks, short city breaks. It's obviously enjoying the downfall on the prices of air travel and internet booking and things like that. But obviously that doesn't explain all the success. It's a part of the environment. What explains the success, it's this incredible ability of putting value in the offer of this touristic product in a global market. And the way that the tourist sector is using the authenticity of the city, is using the values of the city, is using the intelligence of the city, it's creating, it's making the difference. It's making the difference in value of the product that we are creating. The second part of the dynamic of the city, it's the entrepreneur part of the city, the entrepreneur dimension, the startups, the startup city that now Lisbon is. It's someone told me some days ago when we were talking about the Web Summit that Lisbon is now like Berlin. Besides that, we have better weather. So it's, I think it's the way that we won. It's we matched Berlin in everything, and then we had the surplus that they could not discuss. Weather and surfing in Cascais, and probably golf just nearby. So what's happening in the entrepreneurial system here in Lisbon is quite amazing, because for some years we talk about entrepreneurship, startups and things like that. It was a very common language in Europe and also in Portugal, but well, it's words, same words everywhere, but the realities didn't quite match. What's happening now for the last 10 years in Lisbon, more or less 5 years here in Lisbon, from 2010, 2012, from the creation of the startup Lisbon startup. What's happening now, it's a booming, and it's a very good and very powerful and very oiled system that is working very efficiently, ecosystem that is working, different parts of the system are working very well. And it's entering in a dynamic, positive dynamic situation. Well, we don't have here yet a Google born here. Probably there is no, we don't need to compete on that side. But probably from one day from now, we are going to have one big example that could demonstrate exactly what is happening. And I think Lisbon now it is this. And I never agree with the people here in Portugal that always talk about growth and value with industry or agriculture is a traditional way of looking about value. The value is not that. The value is the ability that we have to be paid for the services that we provide, for things that we do. And obviously a modern capital on a European city, the trigger, the center of the value is created on the services activity. And I think that is very clear. If there is a place that we are very competitive, that we have a very clear competitive advantage, is on provision of services, because we have qualified human resources, very talented on languages, very talented on different skills that are needed to different routes of supplies. Very competitive on the prices of infrastructures, on the prices of services, on the very good quality, on the levels of IT quality and things like that. And there is no secret about that. When we made the negotiation of the Web Summit coming here to Lisbon, the main reasons for our victory, obviously that other things equal about money arrangements, financial arrangements, that as you can imagine, that's not the difference between cities. All the cities more or less in the same level of competition, they have the same level of resources to put in a bid like this. What made the difference was two things. One was the quality of the infrastructures. So Lisbon has now one of the modern systems of infrastructures, airports, ports, railway system, and mainly information and technology infrastructures. Very modern, very competitive, very good companies, and that's what I call one of the advantages of having been a retarded countries, is that when we make a development process, we can jump on technologies and on technologies use, and that happened to us, and that's a very big advantage that we have now. I can tell you a secret of that story. They were amazed because the medium internet speed in Lisbon was much higher than in Dublin. And they said, wow, yes, we have that. And they checked several times in several places in the city and said, yes, it is true, ours is much higher. That has to do, obviously, with internet companies, with the mobile phone companies, our infrastructure, that the fiber, the extension of the fiber that we have in the city. So that dimension was very important. The second one was the quality of the innovation system, the entrepreneurial system, and the energy and the dynamic that they saw in the city. So I think when we talk a lot about what can boost employment in the future of Lisbon, I have no doubts for many years that outsourcing and using outsourcing activities from a lot of companies that are outsourcing activities, but fighting for growing on the value, on the chain value of outsourced companies, because when we think about outsourcing, we think, oh, we are talking about just call centers that just go out, low skilled, low paid, low value activities, but it is not. It is that. There is that, obviously, but it is much more than that. The modern organization of companies is not having an entire integrated organization. It has split organizations. It is to integrate a value chain, but not integrate the value chain inside a single organization. So outsourcing, I don't know if it is really the word, if it is outsourcing or if it is chain value in the difference that we are talking about, articulating different pieces. So our challenge is to capture and to be in the spot and then capture what is the most value activities and to grow up in the chain value. And my message to all the companies that are thinking about Lisbon is to say, come here, stay here, give us a chance, and I think you are not going to regret it for the future. Many of the companies that we help staying here in Lisbon, obviously they begin small, going out to a different country, even Lisbon, and even Portugal, a so incredible city and so incredible country, is a difficult decision for someone that has to outsource. But if they come small, we'll grow after, and we help to grow after. So this is my message to you, that come here to Lisbon and give an opportunity to Lisbon. I think no one is going to regret that option. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I would like, first of all, to welcome you here and thank you for the invitation. See that my presentation is over there. Well, I believe that some of you were already here yesterday, so my presentation is exactly the same. So if you were already here yesterday, whether you have two options, or you can go for a little break outside, or maybe you can consolidate your information about Portugal and see why we really think that why today we are in a right moment, and we are a right choice, in our opinion, to look at our country and to invest and pay attention to Portugal. Let me tell you that this has been happening already in a lot of areas, in a lot of sectors, and also in the services sectors, also in the outsourcing, in the shared services. We have been feeling a lot of interest by investors, both Portuguese investors and overseas investors, and we don't discriminate investors whether they are coming from. They can come from China, they can come from Germany, they can come from the US, from African countries, they can come from Portugal. They are all well treated in the same way, and they are all welcome. And at ICEP, the investment agency, which I am lucky and honored to be president of, we really take care of investors. We help them throughout all the process of investment, since the very early stages up to the establishment of the activity. Well, my friend, the mayor of Lisbon, Fernando Medina, who has already left, he just mentioned a few things about Lisbon, and he was telling you, come to Lisbon. I would say, come to Portugal, because almost all he mentioned about Lisbon can be found in all the regions of our country. So let me just give you a brief overview about what we have been doing for the last years, and why we are feeling that investors are looking more and more to Portugal. Because today we can be seen as a country that has fulfilled its agreements, very committed in correcting the situations we have experienced. We have corrected the external and fiscal imbalances. As a matter of fact, you can see there that we used to have huge deficits in the external front. But that is not the case anymore. Since 2012, we have been filling surpluses, and that is projected to continue in a near future. Also, on the fiscal front, we have here, you see that we had a fiscal deficit of more than 11% of GDP, and it is now projected to be less than 3% for 2015. Remember that we had 3 consecutive years of recession, 2011, 2013. So this is we have been trying to correct the imbalances. That was completely done in the external front due to the dynamics of exports. Very strong dynamics, as I will show you in a few moments, but also to the adjustment process. Of course, the shrinking of domestic demand, which led to a shrinking of imports, but also on the fiscal front, some progress has been made, especially when it comes to reducing public spending, and that led us to go and have some progress on the structural fiscal balance, which is the main indicator for the European Fiscal Treaty. At the same time that we were correcting the imbalances, we also put in practice a lot of structural reforms, more than 500 measures that were implemented since 2011 in order to improve competitiveness and to attract investors. This is really broad-based, and it went from the labor market, rental market, to justice, to education, health, public administration, regulation and supervision of the financial sector, goods and services market, tax policy, and competition. So you see a huge program of improve competitiveness and to improve our attractiveness. In terms of the labor market, for instance, we had several measures in order to improve flexibility and to get us closer to the OECD average. I'm going fast with this presentation. This document you can have it. It is available, and so you can find all the information you want here. In terms of regulation, Portugal also made some progress, and it is now one of the least restrictive country within the European Union. Here in this picture, the closer you are to the bottom, the better in terms of least restrictivity in regulation. Then we also had the corporate income tax reform, which was designed in 2013, put in practice in 2014, and it's projected to be completed up to 2018. We have aligned with the best practices in the European Union when it comes to the participation exemption regime, to the tax losses, the patent box, and corporate income tax for small and medium companies. And at the same time, we aim to reduce the corporate income tax from the 31.5 we had in 2013 to a range between 17 and 19% in 2018. I hope it will be 17%. And this will lead us in terms of corporate income tax from this not so pleasant position, not so competitive position we had in 2013, but to a close range to other European peers in 2018, and creating a very competitive environment for companies and when it comes to the tax policy. At the same time, we were expecting, that was the initial expectation, initial projection from the IMF, to raise 5 billion euros in terms of revenues from the privatizations program. But now that the program is close to the end, we have already raised 9 billion euros. So compare the initial estimate of 5 billion with the current 9 billion, which is actual. And you see that this would not have been possible without a trust, an increasing confidence in the country. Even because we had investors from all over the place, not only Portuguese, we had Asian, American, European, so from almost all continents interested in this privatization progress. So with these changes I've been mentioning, it is not a surprise that Portugal started recovering in the worldwide competitiveness rankings. As you see here in this Institute for Management Development, Portugal is now climbing 2 years in a row, through 2 consecutive years, after declining for almost a decade, even though only 4 years are here. But the same happened within the ranking of the World Economic Forum, with the exception that we climbed an astonishing 15 positions from 13 to 14. Then we decreased 2 positions from 14 to 15. So in net terms, we climbed 13 positions. But this movement from 14 to 15, I think it's very important, because it should make us think that for those who think that everything is done, everything is not done. No, we have come a long way. We have done a very positive, in my opinion, a very positive job. That's what the figures show. That's what the feeling of investors show. But we have not gone that far. I would say that we are if we are crossing a bridge, we are in the middle of that bridge. We are, I don't know, 40%, 50%, 60% maybe. But we are not there yet. So we need this commitment to reform has to be continued. And I believe this is what is going to happen for the next years. Otherwise, I'm not going to say that everything would be lost. No, that's not the case. But the recovery we are experiencing and the good days we are now feeling after very huge difficulties, then it would be more difficult to achieve what we are really looking after. So I think this is a movement that should make us think what we need to continue to do, because these are indicators to where investors are looking. And if this movement was really positive, we should try to get it consolidated in the future. For the World Bank, Portugal is the 25th easiest country in the world where when it comes to doing business, and as a matter of fact, it is the first country in Europe where it is simpler to create a new company. With recession behind us, we are now having some momentum in terms of the economic evolution. Projections point out to a GDP growth of around 2%. I think if the commitment to reform is carried on, we can aim more. We can get more than just the potential of 2%. We can go higher from 2 to 3%, and this is what we really need to be focused in. At the same time, unemployment is coming down. Let me remind you that we almost got 18% at the beginning of 2013. We are now close to 12%. It's still very high. We know that, but well, it is on a declining trend, and I think it should continue like that. Well, what are the main growth drivers in Portugal? Exports and investment. And so I'm really lucky to be chairman of ICEP, the agency, because this is exactly what we are taking care of exports, internationalization of Portuguese companies, and to attract investors to come to Portugal. So don't misunderstand me. We don't export and we don't invest at ICEP. No, that's up to you. That's up to companies, that's up to businessmen. But at ICEP, we can support you. We can support your internationalization, selling abroad, and we can support when you come to Portugal, when you show interest in our country. And this is very important because we have felt for the last years tremendous success in what comes to exporting. As a matter of fact, traditionally, Portuguese exports accounted for a range between 26 and 30% of GDP. Now we are already, data for 2015 show that we are already above 40% of GDP, and we think it is possible to reach 50% before 2020. But for that to happen, for this recovery in export, this strong performance of exports to take place, we need more and better investment. We need investment after this downtrend. We are now in a positive upwards trend, but we need more, and we are very focused on that at the agency, on showing what we have done. I think that collectively in Portugal there is a strong commitment, and we have understood. Well, nobody likes a crisis, of course. We wish the crisis just don't happen, but as long as it happened, we took the crisis as an opportunity to change what we had to change. And especially in what companies is concerned, I think a lot has been done in terms of mentality, in terms of structure, and I think that the whole country is very grateful to Portuguese businessmen because they showed a tremendous capacity of improving and of adapting and changing everything we needed to change in terms of mentality. Then there are some factors of which I'm not going to take a long time speaking about them because they are very clear, and I think you all know that. Our position in geography, in the world geography, is very central. We are peripheral in Europe, yes we are, but we are the closest European country to the Americas, well positioned in what comes to Africa, and well, very well positioned globally. Then in terms of technology, what Fernando Medina was telling you about Lisbon is absolutely true, but it is also true for the rest of the country. We are a top country in providing technological service, both in telecom, both in e-government, and also in electronic payments. For instance, in the ATM network, and also with Via Verde, our Portuguese electronic toll system, which is a world pioneer in road toll operations, and it is widely used in several countries. Also, when it comes to infrastructures, we are very well positioned. We have excellent infrastructures in terms of roads, of port infrastructure, of air transport, and of railroad infrastructure. And when it comes to market, it is always good to remember that Portugal is part of the European Union, so opening the doors to a huge market of more than 500 million consumers, and is also part of the Portuguese-speaking community countries, which is a market of 9 countries of more than 250 million Portuguese-speaking consumers. This all together makes Portugal with a not only a very pleasant position in terms of geography, but also with the interest when it comes to open doors to these areas. In terms of talent, I'm not going to tell you that broad-based the talent in Portugal and our education skills are fantastic. They are not. We know we are below the average of European Union, but in some segments, in some areas like science, mathematics, computers, engineering, we are well above average. And it is not by chance that year after year, Germany, the UK, and France, just to mention some examples, come here to Portugal and hire our engineers, our technicians. That's because they are very well prepared and because they are very competitive when it comes to comparing with what happens with these same skills in their countries. And our skills in terms of foreign languages. Well, let me tell you that in this area we are clearly above Europe, above the European average. English learning is mandatory from elementary school, and 78% of the students learn 2 or more foreign languages. As a matter of fact, when I speak to several ambassadors that are here in Portugal, foreign ambassadors, they keep on telling me, Miguel, we don't feel the need to learn Portuguese. Because when we go walking, when we go shopping, when we go and have dinner, have lunch, etc., everybody seems to understand when we speak in English, and everybody is answering us in English. So we don't feel that in other countries where we have already visited. So this is very important because, especially when it comes to English, English is the business language internationally speaking. So this is a very good advantage we have to present to investors, especially foreign investors. At the same time, the quality of management schools is really good. The availability of scientists and engineers is high, as I've already mentioned, and the quality of scientific research institutions is also good. And then there's the quality of life. Fernando Medina was talking about the tourism in Lisbon, and of course it's not tourism, it's also business. Lisbon is very fashion nowadays, and the fact that we won the Web Summit is amazing. Of course, ICEP we had our contribution to that, and we are very proud of it. We are already taking part in the task force that was created to manage everything up to when the Web Summit is coming to Lisbon in November 2016. But let me tell you that here it is, what he was mentioning. Lisbon is the second best city to invest. Also, Portugal is seen as the USA Today as the best European country to visit. We have a very pleasant weather, both in winter and in summer. And in terms of tourism, it's just not Lisbon. It's the whole country that has been feeling tremendous success. And then finally, one last word to talk to you a little bit about incentives and grants we have to offer to investors when they come to Portugal. We have very attractive packages when it comes to the financial incentives through Portugal 2020, which is the new European framework of structural funds. We have roughly 26 billion euros to support companies. Of that 26 billion euros, some 10 billion euros are going to internationalization, to research and development, to innovation, to creating jobs. This is very important. We have very good job creation incentives, and we have financial incentives, tax incentives, both for productive investment, for innovation, for R&D, for these areas that are pointed here. And we think that this offer is really competitive at the European level. Ourselves at ICEP, we are your one-stop shop agency. We can help you, and we are delighted to do that in every stage of an investment, from the pre-investment stage, then with the incentives negotiation, the settling in, and the aftercare when you're already on the ground and working. So we are delighted to do that. It is not by chance, I say. I'm suspect I'm the chairman of ICEP, but ICEP is one of the top 10 investment promotion agencies that best responds to requests from investors. That's not what we are saying. That's the World Bank analysis. And so we are very proud that we are quoted in this position. I would say, come to us, use us. We are here to help you. We are delighted to help you, and that's why we are very focused in expanding for internationalization support our overseas network. We are opening branches in fast-growing countries and consolidating our position in others. We were already present in 53 markets at the end of 2014. We will be following 65, that's our objective, by the end of 2016. And we are opening, especially, I repeat, in fast-growing countries outside Europe. At the same time, we are implementing a net of FDI scouts, specialists that will be focused on attracting FDI, and they will be following North America, Western Europe, and selected regions of Asia. So this is the way we can contribute, we can continue to contribute to the consolidation of Portugal's position as the way we are seen today as a very committed country, a country that should continue its upward trend we have been feeling, and that should continue to reform. So come to us, come near us. We will be delighted to help you. And if you are looking at Portugal and you decide to come here, I think you won't regret. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miguel. I'll jump straight away to the next presentation because we're running late. The very good news about it is that both Fernando and Miguel said a lot of the stuff we have to say. So excellent, thank you very much. We did not made it to happen this way, but it's just perfect. So we'll try to compensate the lack of time we have right now. Secondly, it is not a problem that we started late, because our fellows from the UK yesterday also had some delays in their sessions. So again, we're totally aligned with Northern European developed countries. Those are good news. I'm going to kick off with a presentation of this one study that we, Portugal Outsourcing, have been developing since 2010. It is something that has really paid back in the past few years. We've been, again, developing a framework of analysis of Portugal, and then looking at some of the indicators that Fernando, Miguel just showed us. But basically, we've been looking at some global general dimensions, look at some indicators. We are evolving, trying to do it with another framework. That's going to be on my next slide. I just wanted to say this because throughout the presentation, or a very informal way, I'm going to invite a couple people to join me on stage. So Portugal Outsourcing, most of you by now know, we started this project in 2008. It's been a fun ride. We basically focused on two main verticals, working best practices next to the business ecosystem, mostly next to the public sector. There's a lot of room to improve, to enlarge the activity with obvious gains for both sides. And secondly, we totally focused on promoting Portugal because, one, by 2008, we could observe a lot of very strong, relevant investments from global multinationals happening in Portugal, hiring very good people, developing very good stuff, but at the same time, or I would say not for no reason, because if those companies were coming to Portugal, they were analyzing and comparing locations. Nothing at national level was actually being done. So we just realized that we could have put an extra effort on top of that, which we've been doing again since 2008. As you can read, very recently we joined forces with APDC. We've spoken with most of you about this. APDC is a 30-year-old, very strong business association, mostly in the very beginning oriented to telecoms. Telecoms are shifting their way of doing business, their activity, their business models, and they're obviously approaching to what we call ICT services. So there's an obvious reason, motivation to join forces. Those are the companies that make us happen. Okay, moving forward. Again, I've said most of this stuff. We've been doing it by ourselves, Portugal Outsourcing, but we started a partnership, a cooperation with Nova School of Business and Economics. It is because we want this approach to academia, because everything that adds value to it. We've been covering this analysis of Portugal, looking at the typical key dimensions of analysis. Those you can read, country, skills mainly, infrastructure and costs. But then again, last year we started this process of working with Nova School of Business. It was a fantastic project we had last year, as you can see, with 50 students and professors from Nova. We added a lot of value to it, and that's why they're going to be with us here again. So Miguel has showed us all of these slides. Country-wise, we used to work with a set of indicators. Again, I'm going to rush through this. Country-wise, we compare very well. Infrastructures-wise, we compare extremely well. Skills, we've spoken about it. I really need to jump up. Cost, we've spoke about this. And this is a very, very important slide. It really demonstrates a bit of what Miguel was saying previously. There is a huge movement of investment throughout the country. The academia, their eyes are wide open to this phenomena. They're preparing the people, they're providing the people. The companies are investing in Portugal in several areas of activity. We're talking from engineering to R&D, obviously shared services as well, specific BPO and ITO projects. We have, I would say, a full committed country, and obviously the reading is not just perfect, but we can read a bunch of global players within their own sectors, and there's a hype around the business. So this slide really says a lot of what's happening in the country, and it's very consolidated at this moment. So again, we're gonna keep on going with this project, with this competitive benchmark. But we decided, along with Nova School of Business, and this is when I call you up, Paulo Forleiro, Associate Dean, Nova School of Business and Economics, and also Michela Urbano. Michela is doing her thesis with Paulo at Nova School of Business. She's also a junior implementation consultant with Unit 4. And basically, we worked with them in an assignment that pretty much focused on the transition of the framework, our own APO, Portugal Outsourcing, we've just seen before, to a totally different framework that's been developed by Professor Ilan Oshry, who's here with us. He'll be on stage next. I'll move up. And I'm going to pass the word on to Paulo, but this is where we were up till now, and we are under a work in progress moment, okay? So we used to be looking at those dimensions, looking at a set of 27 indicators, but we're going to be taking it further and looking at it under what Professor Ilan Oshry developed as his own framework, which we find a lot more interesting.